Once upon a time.
Well, it was just about a year ago to be exact.
Okay, once upon a year ago, a girl named Rita
I'm hardly a girl.
embarked on an exciting adventure to a faraway land.
Well, actually, I traveled to a lot of exciting places this year.
Miss Rita, do you want me to tell the story or not?
I'm kind of known as a storyteller myself.
So I've heard.
Maybe we could tell it together?
I like that. Where should we begin?
Well, that's hard to say. This story started about a year ago on a stage just like this at my installation as the 2009-2010 National President of the American Legion Auxiliary. I was escorted to the stage by a handsome prince, Tony Richard, my husband of 42 years, and I wore ruby red slippers, and when I clicked my heels together, oh, that actually was another story. Anyway, the installing officer is my good friend and past National President Joanne Cronin. A lot of my family members were there too, because family is very important to me. My two sons, Joseph and Stephen, were there, and my sister Cece Martinez served as the mistress of ceremonies. And then there were folks from the Otero Garcia Navarreté Post Unit and Squadron 72 and the Department of New Mexico. But they, then too, love a good story. New Mexico is the land of enchantment, you know. And then there was singing.
Ah, singing. I would hope so. Every fairy tale needs a catchy song.
The songs were beautiful. Rachel Arthur of the Air Force Academy from Albuquerque, New Mexico, held my hand as she sang a very moving rendition of When We Believe. And then junior member India Archer from the Department of New Mexico enchanted us with her wonderful voice. At my installation, I introduced my theme for the year, reconnecting with our heritage to strengthen our future. Because the story of the American Legion Auxiliary started 90 years ago, and I wanted to showcase our heritage and history. Historians at all levels, unit, district, department, and national, were encouraged to become involved in looking back at the beginning of our great organization and share those stories within the auxiliary and their communities. Our marketing and communications team also got involved, introducing a Decade of Making a Difference series in the Auxiliary magazine, and wrapping it up with a recap of our 90th year history in this year's convention guide. Stories and connecting go hand in hand. Everyone has a story. Stories are powerful tools for connecting and inspiring. Looking back at our past struggles and successes can light the path of the future for the American Legion Auxiliary.
I believe you mentioned faraway places.
Oh yes, some near and some very far, but all very exciting. My first department visit was to Wyoming, where I attended the department fall workshop and visited the hot springs in Thermopolis. I also enjoyed a trip around Auxiliary Land, where each member wore a bandana and blew their whistles as they approached to give their reports. Then I went to Michigan for their fall conference in Roseville. I toured the Center for Homeless Veterans, where I helped serve breakfast to every veteran and also enjoyed a meal with them. As a former Girl Stater from New Mexico, I was thrilled to attend Missouri Girl State. I met many of the girls and appreciated their desire to learn about citizenship and the love for God and country. It truly is one of our premier programs, and their enthusiasm was contagious.
This all sounds very exciting, but in addition to faraway places, a good story needs a hero.
Well, let me tell you, over the past year, I have met one hero after another. I attended the National Veterans Creative Arts Festival in San Antonio. The American Legion Auxiliary is a national co-sponsor of this event, which celebrates the healing power of art. I enjoyed powerful dance and vocal performances and was amazed by the breathtaking artwork that these veterans created. The true beauty of this event, though, was witnessing the ability of our veterans who have experienced so much and yet still create such objects and expressions of beauty.
But must stand with pride, 'cause we know it's the American way. yes, we know it's the American way.
Equally inspiring were the Wounded Warriors of Right to Recovery, a cycling program which aids in the mental and physical rehabilitation of disabled veterans. I was especially touched by Nathan Hunt, a double amputee who gave both his legs in service during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Nathan rode a hand cycle more than 350 miles across the state of Florida. It was a family affair. Nathan's wife, Michelle, drove an R2R support vehicle, and their daughter served as the official family photographer. Michelle and I truly connected and talked a great deal about the auxiliary. Michelle told me she'd like to join, but wasn't sure since she and Nate traveled so much. I didn't want Michelle to miss a single day of the auxiliary benefits for her or her children. Both Michelle and Nathan joined the Legion and Auxiliary at my home post in Albuquerque and plan on transferring to a posting unit in Texas when things settle down for them. Another hero in my book was the Corporation for National and Community Service, who provided us with a Call to Service Core Vista grant. After being sworn into service at last year's National Convention, 7 Vistas were placed at the national headquarters and 11 Vistas were placed in field sites, helping the auxiliary to do more work with less staff during these tough economic times. One of my most powerful connections came in November of last year. When planning my trip to Washington, D.C. last fall, I let Bob Reed know that I wanted to meet with my peers from VFW and Gold Star Mothers. I had the pleasure of meeting with Ruth Stonesifer, the national president of the American Gold Star Mothers, a nonprofit group of mothers who have lost sons and daughters in the line of duty while serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. Ruth's son Chris was an Army Ranger who lost his life in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan on October 19, 2001. At just 28 years old, he was one of the first 2 American casualties in the global war on terror. Her husband Rick is a retired Navy captain, and her son Rick Jr. recently retired from the Army. So you can imagine that Ruth truly appreciates the mission of our organization. Ruth mentioned to me that she was trying to find meeting locations for some of the American Gold Star mother groups. I told her that in nearly 10,000 communities across the country, there are Legion posts and auxiliary units committed to the same mission that she holds so dear, and that most of them have great meeting areas, and that I was sure many of them would open their hearts and space to her and her ladies. We made a powerful connection. I met Jan Tittle, the VFW National Ladies Auxiliary President, and we have a lot in common. VFW Auxiliary is celebrating its 95th anniversary. I also met Wendy Hoffman, President of the Blue Star Mothers of America. Wendy is an auxiliary member, and she was in Washington to see her son, who had just recently returned from Afghanistan, participate in a wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. The very next day, I saw Ruth and Jan again, this time at a breakfast at the Pentagon hosted by Defense Secretary Gates. Ruth and I were fortunate to be sitting at the same table, but another connection was about to take place. As we were placed for an official photo, the staff assistant to Secretary Gates approached us. He recognized the name Stonesifer. This young man had served with Ruth's son, Chris Stonesifer, in combat and placed his coffin on the C-130 when his body was returned to the United States. Ruth's story really stayed with me. I prayed a lot for Ruth and her family, and apparently the Lord was not through with us. He was working very hard to make it very clear that He had brought Ruth and me together for a reason. I saw Ruth again when she attended the Auxiliaries Awareness Assembly in Washington, D.C. I had no idea she had even registered. When I saw her, we embraced like long-lost friends. Then Ruth asked for my help. She said, "Rita, I was hoping you might be able to introduce me to an auxiliary member from Montana." Well, wouldn't you know it, I told you, He was showing off. The Northwest Divisional Vice President from Montana was standing right behind her. But it gets even better. Her home post is Christopher Stonesifer Post number 124, Frenchtown, Montana, which is named after Ruth's son. When I was growing up, my parents shared their favorite stories with me. In addition to entertaining me, every story offered a moral lesson. My experience with Ruth is no different. I will never forget that day or Ruth's story. Ruth gave me a coin on one of our visits in memory of her son. I carry with me every day because it helps me remember. I'll always remember her son Chris and the sacrifice he made for our freedom, remembering the fact that God has a plan for all of us and He puts people we need in our path, and that we all have something to gain when we work together. There are so many worthwhile organizations in this country. We need to cooperate, not compete. I've listened and learned a lot from the stories and the encounters I've experienced in my year as national president. First, that every member is important, and every member, from the newest to the most senior, deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential for the service within the organization. The most important thing we can give a new member is the opportunity to get involved right away. After all, isn't that why they joined? So make them feel welcome, make them feel appreciated, and don't forget to take time to appreciate those who have been the backbone of our units for many years. Do your best to not take any single member or one single effort for granted, because it takes all of us working together to accomplish the mission of the organization. This year, as I have traveled from department to department, you've inspired me to remember what we're really here for. I have been made to feel so special, so welcomed, and so loved by all of you. Every single member deserves this special feeling. Secondly, our national headquarters team is important to the organization. Over the past year, I have seen firsthand the enormous amount of work they do. They get the job done with a very small staff compared to most organizations our size. And I don't think there is one person among us who isn't thrilled to see our auxiliary magazine return to us. We've truly brought the publication back to the membership, focusing on the individuals and efforts that truly make a difference in the lives of veterans every day, with inspiring stories, advice from fellow auxiliary members, and so much more. I believe our new magazine truly reflects who we are, and apparently many of you do too. We must connect to those in the community who are eligible and who want to join. But how do we connect? And what do we need to do to retain existing members? Well, we must do a better job of telling our communities who we are, what we do, and how we make a difference. We each have a responsibility to tell our stories. If you let them know, they will want to get involved. Remember, a veteran is a veteran every day. A volunteer is a volunteer every day. Don't stop the work, because our veterans need us every day. Our communities need us every day. This organization needs us every day. God bless you all, and thank you for allowing me to serve as your national president this year. Thank you for listening to my story, and for the opportunity to be part of an organization that helps rewrite the stories of our veterans and their families across the nation. They have served us well, and through the great work of our national officers, chairmen, and members everywhere, I believe we all play an important role in helping them all to live happily ever after.